Yep. Right, if you remember last week I did the TripMachine mock toe boots. When they arrived, the following day another box arrived, and I thought it was two pairs of boots. I thought Sid at TripMachine had sent me a pair in black and a pair in brown. I didn't give it much thought at the time. As I say, I was busy with some building work and they were just sort of buried under various stuff that was just been stored in the dining room at the time. Now, it wasn't until I pulled those boots out for review that I realised actually the two boxes that had arrived on 2 different days were different sizes, and one of them contained a small pannier or day pannier. I do a lot of touring luggage on this channel, and it just struck me at the time what a useful little piece of kit this is for certain people. Either as your general carry-all for, taking your wet gear, your packed lunch, etc. to work. Something that you can quickly unclip from your bike and take into the office. Or a small pannier that you can just use for your day trips, where it's not actual luggage as such. It's just for carrying sort of your camera, your wallet and your house keys, that kind of thing. Maybe a set of waterproofs. Because we don't always want to ride around with big capacity bags strapped to the bike. Now, before I go any further, there will be a 15% discount code for anything from TripMachine's website in the video description down below, along with a link to this day pannier. And that discount code will be valid for 7 days from today. Now, this is TripMachine's classic day pannier, a small capacity, all leather bag, constructed in a classic sort of dispatch rider's pannier style, made from 100% leather, which, as you can see, has been buffed or polished. It's not high polish, but it's not the sort of natural oiled leather with a matte finish that we're used to seeing from TripMachine on a lot of their products. And the colour of this particular leather bag matches in quite nicely with the touring seats of the classic 350. Now, the fastening or security on this bag is quite basic. It just has one single strap which looks like a traditional pin buckle, but it's actually got one of those clever little quick release fasteners underneath. Now, the pin buckle itself is fully functioning, but there's no need to actually mess around with it if you don't want to. The bag is unlined and constructed from a pretty heavy-duty full-grain leather. Inside, you'll find a plethora of straps, sort of to meet any eventuality with any motorcycle, to make sure that this is as universal as possible for fitment to a motorcycle. It also has a rain cover and a shoulder strap so that you can carry the bag around easily when it's not on the bike. Now, I prefer to use the webbing loops that come with TripMachine's kit, which once fastened onto the bike simply clip onto the D-rings at the rear of the bag, but there is a more complicated strap system with leather straps if those are what you would prefer to use. And they're designed to go through the cutouts at the top of the bag. Now, TripMachine have tried these bags out on the old classic 350 and of course the classic 500 and various other motorcycle models. They've not actually tried them on the new 350 yet. The rear sort of mudguard stay, etc., it's all a slightly different configuration to that of the old 350s. The main problem being that sort of tubular guard that comes out from the stay and sort of wraps around the rear shock absorber. It's a good thing because it keeps any luggage out of the rear shock absorber and stops it getting chewed up. but does sort of provoke some limitations on how and what sort of luggage you can fit. I've always managed to make TripMachine's bags work with this, and this classic bag was no different. It just requires a bit of trial and error really until you get to where you want to be. I found, 10 minutes, and I'd found a situation where the bag was level and it was very secure, didn't flap about or move backwards and forwards. And the great thing about these webbing loops is that, you can just unclip them from the bag to take your bag away, but you can leave the loops on the bike for as long as, you require them to be there. Pretty much permanently, if you like. The kit does come with some sort of heavy-duty leather pin buckle straps if you prefer to use them. I think it's going to depend on the configuration of your bike. And it also comes with a very sturdy leather shoulder strap, so when you've taken the bag off your bike, you can just sling it over your shoulder and take the bag with you. This bag is going to look great on any modern classic, in my humble opinion. The traditional dispatch satchel style is a classic in its own right, and it's perfect if you want to continue that old school look with your luggage. As I said, this bag is unlined, but inside you'll find the usual TripMachine refinements. A sewn-in leather pocket with a zipper on it for putting your wallet or your phone in, and the ubiquitous key loop for keeping your house keys or work keys on or whatever. As with all TripMachine luggage, this kit comes with a securely fitting weatherproof cover, but what I haven't seen before is a little elasticated strap inside designed to sort of hold it and keep it in one place. Normally you just throw it in the bottom of the bag. It's a nice touch. It keeps it handy and easy to access. You don't have to go digging through the contents of the bag to find it in the bottom. Another example of TripMachine's constant sort of development of the products and just making each sort of iteration that little bit better. Just to reiterate, this is not intended to be a touring bag. The main purpose of its design was as a work bag. For the techie types, it's designed to easily accommodate an 11-inch iPad or laptop with enough space to carry, your phone, your keys, and any other paraphernalia that people usually take to work with them. I like to think of it more as a day bag because something like this is great for a day trip. It'll easily accommodate most things that we take, with us out for a day trip to the coast or whatever. And for security, when we get to our destination, we can just unclip it from the bike, sling it over your shoulder, and you've got everything with you. I suppose at the end of the day, we're all different. 2 of these, some people might consider to be enough for very lightweight touring, at least for a weekend. There are no hard and fast rules as to what you should actually be using this bag for. One thing I will mention, and this applies to all luggage that you fit to your bike, not just TripMachines, there is a danger of damaging paintwork. This E-Tech transparent protection film, I've been using this particular box for several years now. One box, if you're 17 years old and you've just bought your first bike, will last you a lifetime of motorcycles because you literally only use tiny amounts of this stuff at a time. I had previously fitted some of this film to other parts of this frame on the bike, but with this bag I did notice that this particular hook did have a habit of knocking against that weird sort of stay that wraps around the shock. Prevention is better than a cure. Normally this stuff is pretty much invisible when you've fitted it. I'll be honest, I made a bit of a pig's ear of this one. But it's worth having this stuff on hand so that you can protect paintwork as and when needed and protect your investment, really. Right, I'm going to cut away before you see what a mess I made of it. I'll leave a link to that stuff in the video description down below. Right, so that's the rather charming classic day pannier from TripMachine. It's a very simple, understated, classic design, and I think sometimes that's exactly what you need. Less is more. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. You know that I really do appreciate it. I would also appreciate it if you would leave a like, and if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. In both cases, it feeds the algorithm and helps this channel out. Now, if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell and ensure that your notifications in your channel settings are enabled. That way, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. I am, of course, going to be back next week, so take advantage of this glorious weather that we're having at the moment. But more importantly, over the weekend, ride safely. And I'll see you next week. And cue complaints about the music.